Samoa. Kia ora.
Whawhatai lava.
Mr. Speaker.
I call the Honourable Member Peseta Sam Lotu-Iiga. Talofa lava.
Mahalo le soifua maua ma le langi mamalo e fionga le taitai le whono nei o le palemene o New Zealand Aotearoa. Good evening, Mr. Speaker, and good evening to our guests in the gallery and all those listening across this country and watching this debate. Sir, Budget 2013 is about building momentum. Budget 2013 is about leadership, it is about stewardship, and it is about a vision for this country to go forward. And for that, I commend the Honourable Bill English for bringing this budget to the House and bringing his steady, conservative leadership to our country, sir. And it's built on the 4 previous budgets of this John Key-led national government. It's about responsibly managing the books and the accounts of this country. It's about building a competitive and productive economy, delivering better public services as well as rebuilding Christchurch. So I just want to answer my friend and colleague from across the aisle about access to health services before I do talk about what's pertinent within this budget. Sir, there are many GP services throughout South Auckland, of which she is a member of Parliament for Manurewa. They are very low-cost access practices where children, by and large, receive free access to health care, to primary care, where the maximum amount paid is quite a low co-payment. It was a policy that was implemented by the Labour government, and it was continued by this national-led government. So I do beg to differ around the access to services across South Auckland, but also including my own electorate of Maungakiekie. So what we inherited 5 years ago was an economy teetering on the brink of collapse. So there were forecast a decade of deficits going forward. The global financial crisis was beginning to hit. Many countries across Europe particularly were suffering quite distressing circumstances, both financially, where high unemployment rates were the order of the day, sir. And so what this government, this national-led government, has done by coming in and rescuing the finances of this country, what we've done, sir, is we've now got to the point where we have some of the lowest interest rates in the Western Hemisphere, where we have the lowest inflation rate in the civil world, under 1%, and where our economy is actually in the sort of top 12 countries in terms of economic growth. And so you might ask why that's important. Why is it important that growth stimulates this economy? Because growth produces jobs, sir. It produces jobs, and as far as my constituents are concerned in Maungakiekie, when I go out and door knock, when I go out to the markets and I talk to business owners and I talk to school kids and residents, what they're after is an economy that produces jobs for their parents, where their parents are able to look after the kids, feed them, clothe them, and get them educated and enjoy the Kiwi lifestyle that many of us across this country have become accustomed to over the years. So, sir, this morning, 2,300,000 people went to work in this country. Over 2.3 million people went to work in New Zealand this morning. And that is more, sir, than at any other time in our history. Any other time in our history. And we know, sir, that 50,000 jobs have been created over the last couple of years. And it's not because of the government, by the way. All this government does is sets a framework, sets an environment from which jobs can be created. And often those jobs, sir, are created by the private sector. So we've got a situation today where the unemployment rate has dipped down to 6.2%, where household income has risen 20% in the past 4 years, and we're superannuitants, and members opposite know this. their real incomes have gone up more over the last 5 years than they ever did under the Labor government, sir. Ever under the Labor government. What I want to focus on, sir, is export growth. Export growth is the key to delivering jobs in this economy. And Mr Mallard knows, because he was a minister in the last government, in the last 5 years of the last Labor government, exports contracted 5 consecutive years under the Labor government. 5 consecutive years. But we know that under this government, we have grown the export sector compound annual average of 4.6% over the past 4 years. 4.6%. And that's a record that we can be proud of as a national government, and it's a record that creates jobs. And I've just come back from the United States where we had a trade mission, where I was with some iconic Kiwi companies like Vista, like Orion Health, and Mr Mallard knows this, but he denies it. Now let me talk to you about Vista. In 2008, Vista is a software cinema ticketing company. And Mr Mallard knows it, but Mr Jones and Mr Cosgrove were there and they've seen these companies. This company in 2008 had a revenue of $11 million. And today, that company now generates sales of over $38 million. So 3.5 times, under the national government, under this environment, under the framework that we've set, they have more than tripled their revenue. But it gets better, Mr Mallard. It gets better. Their profits have almost tripled from $3.5 million to $10 million. And their employees, Mr Mallard will like this because he was formerly a Minister of Labour, he'll like this, employees have gone from 38 to 175 under the 5 years of this national government. This is another success story of an export-driven company that is supported by this government, that is nurtured by this government, that is encouraged by this national government to expand and export goods. Sir, Orion Health, $150 million, another company that under this government and the conditions that we've set are really thriving in the United States of America. And when we've opened up more trade routes, when we've negotiated more free trade agreements, whether it's the Trans-Pacific Partnership with America and with Canada and Japan, Vietnam and Malaysia, when those markets are opened up, we can expect more export-led growth in this economy. Sir, I just want to make one more point around why this budget is delivering for New Zealanders, and it is in the area of housing. And the Honourable Nick Smith has brought a package of reforms to this House that addresses one of the key issues of our times, and that is around housing affordability, where under the Labor government between 1999 and 2008, and Louisa Wall knows this, she knows this, under those 9 years, average house prices in Auckland went up 91%. 91%. 2.5 times the rate it is going up under this national government. 2.5 times the rate. And so what we're doing as a government is providing land supply, is that we've set up an inquiry that will look at building material and construction costs and look at how the productivity in the housing sector could be improved. But the Productivity Commission, in its report, stated quite clearly, Louisa Wall, and you know this, that land supply was the critical issue in terms of unlocking housing affordability, both in Auckland and around the country. And so this reform, sir, is going to speed up consents, it's going to release more land for development, and it's going to put more Aucklanders into homes in the next 3 years than was ever accomplished under the Labor government. So, sir, I return to just summarise that this budget is again about managing finances, and it's about addressing matters that really are important to New Zealanders. It's about an education system that's robust and growing. It's about a health system that can be relied upon and trusted. But most of all, sir, it's about creating jobs for families that want to look after their own, want to be independent of the state and are confident and optimistic and give hope to those that want to get out there and produce for our country. Thank you, sir.
Call Materia Ture.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What an absolute load of rubbish we just listened to. I tell you what, that was ridiculous.